All right. I am Linda Deir, and this guy,
This guy over here is Ray Holly, the wizard of wonderment behind the scenes.
he is raised like Oz, you
I am.
guys. He handles all the details over here, so I don't have to be what would you call it, spinning all the plates.
That's right. I run back and forth and spell.
It's nice. He does. He does. Okay. All right. So we're going to get right into it. Little change in format from now on. Trying new things. In Two Worlds with Linda Deir. Welcome to episode number 253 of Linda's Weekly Guided Insights, a weekly gift of guidance from Linda's spirit guides on navigating the uncertain world that you are now living in. Tonight, the guides will explain how consciousness resides in the details. The takeaway from this week's episode is consciousness and the details are not separate. Here's what this will do for you. You will be able to identify the details. Here's what I want you to do with it. I want you to achieve consciousness by writing those details down. So here we go. I will read the excerpt from tonight's insight. Consciousness resides in the details. Today, we're going to talk about how to bring consciousness and the details together. You will discover that these two components are not separate, as they happen simultaneously. When you are not conscious, you will catch yourself thinking things like, oh, I'll get around to writing the details that I just noticed later on. This is like a dream you had, and a few minutes later, it dissipates from your memory. We said that consciousness is in the details. So what are the details? How do you find them? And what do you do with them when you do find them? The first thing that happens, the first thing that keeps you from finding the details is that you normally don't look deep enough. A good way to approach this new level of consciousness is to expect that everything that happens has a hidden meaning. Okay, so we're going to talk about exactly how this works. Ray, did we have a comment
We
today?
did have a comment.
All right.
It was from Viola
Viola.
in the Netherlands. Viola will be sleeping right now, but I can read her comment. Linda has taught me to trust the messages, the aha moments that stand out to me, how small they might be when overthinking it. I am by far not as conscious as I could be. For me, it is a process that takes time to develop. I've been doing the journal writing since the end of 2018, and slowly I feel more and more steady in trusting myself and recognizing the details and the little nudges that appear as big eye openers. For example, when doing the writing and coming to the point where I write down the action to take, for many, many months, I constantly received the same guidance. Relax, breathe, stay close to myself. That information to relax and breathe appeared for me the key to developing consciousness. I have been nervous as a kid, and in my 20s and 30s, it expressed itself in fear of speaking. During that time, it was obvious that I never could get in touch with my awareness, and I lived by doing what others told me instead of trusting what my inner compass was telling me.
That's dangerous.
All right. So grateful for Linda's work and for her life companion, Ray.
We love it. Okay, so
Okay, Linda Deir responded by saying, this true account of what Viola describes as her journey to becoming conscious is so pure. Case in point, when she got the fourth qualifying question in her journal, what action will you take? Guidance told her to relax, breathe, stay close to yourself. I love this. The action she was guided to take right now was not to panic. Stay present. With practice, she will master this. That's when the guidance will point her in a direction that she is currently being prepared for.
Powerful. So that's what happens when you follow, when this is so important what Viola shared with us, because once you step into that and you stay with it, what Viola's doing, by the way, she's got, I'm going to say, she's got probably both books, but um, my journal writing, she's writing in her journal for at least 15 minutes a day about what was unusual or out of the ordinary. That's how she's catching the guidance. And when she catches that and she writes it down, there's 4 qualifying questions. The first one is write it down. If you don't write it down, you miss the whole thing. The second question is, how did what you wrote down make you feel? The third question becomes obvious. What did you realize? Once you write down how it felt, you have a realization. You automatically are going to get that. And then, and only then, do you have what it takes to take action. But you've got to write it down. This process is a proprietary process that I developed between the 3 books I have, Guided over there, My Journal Writing, and My Guided Journey and My Journal Writing. There's 3 books to this process. It's easier than you think, but you have to stay with it, okay? And I actually have training on this, you guys, on my website. You go to my website, click on training, takes you right to it. You can see what I'm talking about. All right, so this writing it down is the key to becoming conscious, because you're moving too fast. You're not used to being conscious. It's as simple as that. Ray, what do you have?
Well, when you move too fast, guess what you miss? The details.
Exactly.
The details, people talk about details, and there's all different ways they talk about them. They define them. Like the details are the finer points of a topic. When you're listening to somebody speak, what were the details they talked about? They had a topic for their speech, but what were the details behind it? There's a detail is a small part, an individual part within a subject. The details are the complete particulars. They're sometimes called the complete particulars of a project, or the expanded particulars. And the details, the other detail is when I used to get my car detailed. It's a process of being thoroughly cleaned, everything down to the last little thing.
Okay, imagine that. How many times have you taken your car in, you get it washed, but then you go, I'm going to pay an extra $10 for the details. I want my car I want the tires cleaned. I want the inside windows done really nicely. I want detail. I want perfection. When you look into the details and you capture the details, you have perfection, as close as you can get to perfection. All right. So when you don't get what you paid for, you paid the extra $10 for the details to get your car detailed, right? And it's just it's not a good job. It's just almost like the job they do without the details. All right. It's just like enough to take your money. That really bothers you. You get ripped off. Okay. When you don't write it down, when you don't write down what happened and ask yourself how it felt, and then what you realize, these are the 4 qualifying questions, and what action you're going to take. You missed the details. Just like if you went to get your car washed and they didn't do the details right, they didn't detail the car right, they just slapped it together. That'd be like you missing the point. Maybe you'll write it down, or a little bit about what you wrote down. You don't want to be bothered with writing it down. You're just like the guy who detailed the car, who didn't do his job. Okay, the same thing. So don't rip yourself off. Take time to slow down. That's the key, you guys. Everyone's has been moving too fast until you take the 15 minutes. When you think about those 15 minutes, That's what Viola was talking about. She was talking about what's the three keywords that Viola used again, Ray? She said, relax, breathe.
And relax, breathe, and stay close to yourself.
Did you hear the way she described that? Viola, I love that so much. And stay close to yourself. Don't get lost what's going on about what's going on out there. Don't think about what's out going on that you don't control. Stay close to yourself. I could just write a whole thing about how she described that. I love that, Viola. Stay close to yourself. How beautiful is that? So you've got to take that time to relax, breathe, and stay close to yourself as you take that 15 minutes a day to care for yourself, to pay attention to the details of what happened after you wrote that down. Okay?
You know, this whole thing about car detailing, there are people out there who are master car detailers. And I mean, you spend a couple $100 to get your car totally detailed, hand waxed, the carpets are shampooed, the interior is all shampooed, everything's clean. They take a toothbrush and they clean all the little dirt out of the dashboard and all the little tiny things.
Ray likes the details.
I know. I used to get my cars detailed once in a while, but you get back in and it reminds you of how much you liked it when it was new.
Isn't that something?
Right. It doesn't smell. Yeah, they could spray some stuff in there and make it smell new, but you just appreciate the detail.
Okay, let me add to that. Viola, we go back to Viola's. Viola has problems with speaking. She has problems expressing herself because of her early life as a child. She was not. She was not. It was not acceptable for her to express herself. It sounded arrogant, or it sounded, you know, um, it sounded like she was being herself. And who does she think she is? Really, that happens a lot. A lot of people have trouble expressing themselves because they were not accepted for who they were when they first got into this world. All right. So um, when what Ray's talking about here with the detailing of the car and how it smells new when it's detailed, what happens is when you pay attention to the details, you go back to the early part of who you were, the new part, the new person who came here, who originally came here from the before life, who came here. You feel that person, you feel that person coming to life again. That new person is coming back, not somebody who got repressed and controlled and told that they weren't good enough. And who do you think you are? That's the car that's lacking detail. The car that gets exceptional detail work done is when you bring yourself back. You write in your journal. You pay attention to what's going on in your life, you guys. Consciousness, and you write it down. You spend that time with yourself and those who came with you, your guides. All right. This is the detail that makes all the difference in your life. All right.
When we were young and we were growing up and we were little, there was even a saying for children not expressing themselves. Children should be seen and not heard.
It's terrible. I can't tell you how many people I coach and train with my process. I have a proprietary process, a system that I snap them right out of it. I pull them right out of it without harshness, without without you know without looking at the wrong things, looking at the right things, so they can remember who they are. Okay, and bring that back into play. That's what you're doing when you write down the details. You write down what happened, but then as you move through it and you answer those 4 qualifying questions, how it felt, what you realized, and the action you're going to take. It's no good without action, you guys. You can do all this kind of stuff, and I even talk about that. Let me bring that up. I even talk about that, and I want to bring it up. Um, let me find it here. Go ahead and start talking to me. I'll find it.
Speaking of sayings, like children should be seen and not heard. There's all kinds of sayings about details. The devil's in the details. Remember, people say that. That means the
Right,
hard parts are in the details.
right,
The answers are in the details.
Right.
That's another one.
right.
People say attention to detail. Pay attention to detail. And a lot of people say, especially like when you go on a job interview, one of the big questions is, are you detail oriented? Are you a detail oriented person? Well, what does that mean?
I'll tell you what it means. Are you somebody who doesn't miss what's going on? Or are you somebody that just blows through things and just gets them done as fast as you can? Just, just enough to get your check and move on.
Right.
Call it a day, 5 o'clock. See you tomorrow.
Yeah.
That's not somebody who cares about what they're doing. So the details are not important. If you don't care about yourself, you'll notice that the details are lacking. Same thing applies. When you look at it in the outer world, just realize, take a look at your inner world and say, how am I doing here on the details? Am I missing it like these guys are missing it? Like I'm seeing and observing that these people are missing it? Don't judge them, but pay attention, because it's all about, becoming conscious is about realizing what we have been missing. And when you miss the details, you are missing the message. You are not conscious. You're like a rock. You go to a lake, you take a flat rock and you throw it across the water, and it just skips across the water until it sinks. All right. There's no substance in that. It's just going across the surface.
Right. Exactly. Especially I've had a lot of experience interviewing people, and I would ask people, one of the questions for any job seeker they usually run into is, are you a detail-oriented person? Well, a detail-oriented person, they may or may not even understand what that is, but a detail-oriented person is somebody who pays attention to the details, someone who can understand the causes and not just the effects.
Okay, I'm going to say this about the details again. Have you ever met anybody who's so detailed that they drive you nuts? They're like, oh, you're like, oh, please, just shut up.
Yeah.
I am so sick of that person. They're so anal about the details. I want to choke them. I can't stand it. All right. You know what they're missing? They see the details. They're the critics. Okay. That is a detailed person. All right. But they're not looking back at what it's reflecting back at them. And here's how this is different. This isn't going to turn you into like a little miserly, detailed person that's terrified of the world. All right. That is not what I'm talking about. This, writing you're down what happened, what's unusual and out of the ordinary, 15 minutes a day, taking the time to just do that one thing, leads to how it felt. Self-inquiry. You haven't done that in years or ever. And then out of that, what you're going to get, the bonus, the freebie, the most amazing thing's going to come to you is what you realize from what you wrote down and how you felt about what you wrote down. The realization will be amazing. And that's when you take the action. A detailed person who's really, nitpicky and critical and they drive you crazy. They don't do this. They skip like the rock. They skip over the surface and never look into those 4 qualifying questions. They never look at themselves. That's how this is different. This brings you into consciousness. It doesn't make you right or wrong. This is not about right or wrong, everybody. All right?
Yeah, the people you're talking about are micromanagers. That's especially what they do.
Yeah.
They may not even understand the minutia or the details, but they just expect you to. So, but detail-oriented people are interesting. They're searchers. They're natural searchers. They're looking to better themselves. They're looking for
under the hood.
Why am I here?
Why? Did you
here?
hear the why? The why, the why.
Right.
Anytime you ask somebody why, or you ask yourself why, that is something unusual and out of the ordinary. Whatever that was, write that down and then go through those 4 qualifying questions about what that why was. And you will figure it out. It'll be handed to you on a silver platter. You've never been able to do this before until now.
And these detail-oriented people are, they have to have a lot of patience and a determination.
Okay, stop. With yourself, you have to be patient and determined with yourself. Not somebody someone tolerates or somebody you have to tolerate. This is between you and yourself.
Detail-oriented people make great researchers, people who will work in a lab for 20 years, patiently looking for the cure for
That would be you.
something.
You're here on the planet for at least 60 years, probably, and more than that. You'll spend 60 years looking into the details about yourself. That person, they seem like they're scientists. They're amazing. They only spent 20 years looking into something. We're talking about your life. We're talking about you. If you don't understand what the details are, you are missing your life. Here, let me say this too. When something happens that's out of your control and it catches you by surprise, it catches you off guard. Unless you have written down the details, unless you have kept this journal going where you write down what my journal writing, you write down 15 minutes a day, what's going on with you, and you keep it in chronological order. You've got something something, you get knocked off your game. You get your pins knocked out from underneath you. You get devastated by something. You've got valuable information about what led up to it. I'm telling you, it didn't just happen one day. Something was talking to you the whole time, preparing you for it. Entry after entry after entry after entry, showing it to you. There's never anything that just happens. If you're conscious and you've been paying attention to the details, that will not happen to you. You will have things in your life that happen that you wish didn't happen, but you'll remember how things were showing up and showing you little details along the way, giving you hints and preparing you for what was about to happen. I know I talk about it throughout my life story about how it works. Okay. So
people who are detail oriented also are very good at reading people, reading their emotions and their intentions. They're very instinctual. Somebody walks into a room and the person looks at them, they get an immediate reaction.
Okay, here it is. Consciousness and intuition. How does intuition and consciousness work together? They're not separate. Just like the details in consciousness are not separate. The automatic byproduct of paying attention to the details, being conscious, paying attention and breaking them down, peeling the onion, answering those 4 qualifying questions will increase your intuition massively. It's a byproduct, a natural byproduct of becoming conscious.
Yeah, reading people, below their surface level, looking at them and picking up on their energy.
That is not judgment, by the way.
No, it's not judgment.
In fact, if you're in judgment, that is not, you've missed the whole point. You missed the whole point.
I mean,
This consciousness does not reside in judgment.
Everybody's run into the person that, you met them for the first time and you get there's something not right with that person. There's something dangerous about that person.
I know.
You need to be careful around that person.
Your intuition's working again. You can trust yourself. A whole host of things happens from taking that 15 minutes a day to become conscious by exploring the details.
Yeah, you're not judging, you're analyzing.
That's
You're
right.
Analyzing people and
That's
things
right.
and situations.
That's right.
People,
If you catch yourself judging, if you can't get past the judgment, my journal writing, write down what you did to interrupt your ability to become conscious. Only once you write it down, you guys, once you write it down, it's out of here. Those habits, you break them. It's out of here and it's on the pages. You've released it and you report it back to yourself, because when you need to review this by going back a week or a month or a year, you can see how you're doing as you move through your journal entries and see how much better you're doing. You got to catch yourself at it. You've got some habits to break. You're going to find it when you write it down. You can't not get it when you follow these 4 qualifying questions that inquire and produce the results. Very good, Ray. Excellent, excellent, excellent research. Ray
I
always,
looked into the details.
yes, Ray always does. Ray does a real good job of that. And what I'm going to do now is, okay, so next week, October 27th, for episode number 254, with me, Ray, and my spirit guides at 6 p.m. Pacific time. In Linda's Weekly Guided Insights, my spirit guides will be talking about you must learn to love or else. How about that one? You must learn to love or else. Or else what? When did you stop loving? It was the day you started judging. Ties right into this insight pretty much. When you came into this world, you loved everyone. You only observed. You had no judgment about what people did, who they were, or what they said. You just accepted everyone without filters. Then one day, all this changed when fear struck, and you learned that it was too risky to love everyone. So join us next Tuesday for that one. This Saturday, October 24th at 1 p.m. Pacific time, I will be reading from chapter 24 of Guided. You can join me on my Facebook page, my Facebook timeline, and on my YouTube channel. Today, and so now we're going to close the session with the closing message from the guides about consciousness resides in the details. If my work has helped you in any way, share this video with your like-minded friends. Tell your friends about my work, lindadeir.com. All right, and here they go. Closing message, consciousness resides in the details.
The details are where the true story resides. It's only once you examine the details, especially the random details that appear to be odd or out of the ordinary. These carry a special message. Beware of the person who says, I'm a big picture guy. These people tend to be surface level people. They have no depth. They slide and skip through life like that rock across the water until one day they just sink. The non-inquisitive person misses the real reasons of why things happen and how they work.
All right, we'll see you next week. We'll see you this Saturday.
Saturday, chapter 24. That's my favorite chapter. That's where you meet me and live happily ever after.
Part 4. Yeah, a lot of stuff happens in part 4. Oh my God. Okay.
Good night, everybody.